Welcome everybody. We are going live at 7. We'll wait for people to get in the room, but we are here for our Sunday sit down. Oh yeah, come on in. We had some trouble getting on together, but the best is that we did it. We did it, and I love it because we had no pre-talk, have no clue what's going on. So I will wait. Will people wait? Great to see you, Explicit. My friend X, I love him. I had just a crazy week. It's rained like crazy. Oh, Nancy Hall's in. Hey, Nancy. I started off the week with a couple things. We're just getting our Women's Summit that's coming up 21st, 23rd, and I'm getting that program together. I made myself stay up minute by minute. Michael Fanone is coming, and guess what? I have a surprise for everybody. Michael Fanone, the DC cop that we all know about January 6th, what happened to him, Denver Riggleman, we have a great panel. And Lauren Burke, our Lauren Burke, has agreed to moderate that with me. And she answered me. She's not in the room, so I'm going to say it. She said, "Oh, I could do this panel. I dated DC cops." I dated Capitol Police. My dad was a cop, and I'm teasing if anybody's listening. But she said, and she's very true that she was down there interviewing people for January 6th and talked to Michael Fanone. I feel like this is in great hands with her. So then I turned to Friday. My sons get married in September, so we had a big shower party, and I am just like doing all that. And so I'm so glad to see you. And you had a busy last week, and this was my turn.
It was your turn, so I'm dying to know. I did think about you. Uh-oh. Think I
You're
had to
good. I
let
hear you. You're good.
Okay, good. I did think about you on Saturday and wonder how it was all going. So how did it go? How many
Well,
people did you have? How was it?
yeah. I still got some balloons. See my balloons? Okay, got balloons. The tradition. It was great. It was traditional, like bridal shower. It was full on. I mean, from the little games like guess what the dress is going to be like, to message in a bottle that was really cool. You wrote a little message to the bride in a bottle. And great seeing two families come together. Her family's small, mine's big and loud. It was so loud that you had to go outside at some point. So many people were talking, but I was just so excited for my son to be heading into this. And Brittany Henry, who she's marrying, is going to be helping us at the summit. Full circle. I just got myself like a great new daughter. It's in September. But yeah, it was busy and on my mind getting all that done, and bringing people together for a pool party was cool. When we talked about family reunions, one thing I did tell is a lot of stories about your reunion to people, and about what Miss Margaret said about the real family reunion
Mhm.
from Friday just stuck in my head. So folks, if you're with us Friday, we really talked a little bit about Finelle's reunion, and she traced it all the way back to her ancestors in 1904. And you could imagine what Miss Margaret, who's on our show, would chimed in to say the first family reunion was after the Civil War. And I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yeah, it was because families were looking for their loved ones who had been separated. They
Right.
didn't care. You took away husbands and wives and their children and nieces and nephews, and they just never got to see them. And it always reminds me, it brings me back to Frederick Douglass, who, you know how I love Frederick Douglass. But
Right.
really the story of him, his birthday, he chose that because of his mom. And then remember that she used to walk for miles to see him because he'd been separated. So she'd walk at night to go see him and then walk back early in the morning to be back to go to work in the fields. So this whole idea of family reunions after the Civil War were families trying to reconnect and reunite with each other. So there's a beautiful story about why people love family reunions and why they're so important.
Yeah, and we talked about the storytelling aspect here. Everybody here, when you bring families together, it's interesting how you merge things. And when we think about it, kind of if we want to call the United States as such a story, and we talk about storytelling, but it's really a lot of fibbing and white lies and misinformation around it. So what we were talking about is the importance of really telling the stories, and that way you pass down important information. And I saw one of my favorite people, Nellie Blanding, was just had a post of, she was somewhere and this delivery guy came. She's like an older civil rights lady. She's part of the union in Virginia. And this young man came to her door delivering something from Amazon or something. She goes, "Son, are you registered?" He goes, "Ma'am, I am not." And she says, "People have bled and died for this right. I'm getting you registered right now." And literally on the spot, registered him. And I think that's the kind of thing when we talk about what needs to be done now is just how we come across every individual. It's time to just really talk, you know?
Yeah, Catherine and Nancy Hall says she's really excited about the summit, and
Yeah.
we're really excited for you to come to the summit. My, cousin Wilhelmina Parker is on here, and this is gonna be her 2nd summit,
Uh-oh.
and it really does change you in terms of how you think about the work that we do, because it's not really work, it's what you do every single day. John Lewis says that this is work that is never finished. Everybody has to do it. It's unfinished work, and that means no matter how big or how small it is the action that you take. So, registering someone to vote, asking them if they know about an election, asking about a candidate, talking about an issue, listening to them and how it affects them. We all have a lane to be in. And some lanes are smaller than others, but it doesn't matter. Just pick a lane and do some work in it.
Yeah. Well, I wondered, we didn't even get to talk at all. So we didn't get to know. I want to know what's on your mind. I want to say a couple things for people in the room. If you're from Virginia, Cheryl's here. Cheryl Binkley's here. She's going to be helping with the summit. I'm excited about Cheryl putting together. We're talking about how important it is to go local candidates. So that's going to be really exciting. But the primary is this Tuesday, and boy, I'm wondering, I'm wondering in CD1 where we have some really interesting contests there. What's going to come if the establishment pick will be picked, or we're going to see maybe. I'm going to be wondering, watching that of the outcome, if there is anything really behind this new kind of enthusiasm about younger candidates or candidates that aren't really coming from the establishment. I don't know if you have any insight. I know, for instance, Elaine Luria is plans to come up to the summit, and I'm wondering when we see these primaries, what that story is going to kind of be. We know they're what Michigan is talking about with some of these other races. I don't know what's on your mind about that.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you are. And I think and it depends on the energy that candidates bring to the primary.
Right,
And I sort of try to dismiss the whole establishment narrative because at the end of the day, the person who's at the door is the one who's gonna matter.
right,
So,
true.
sometimes I even dismiss the idea about money because it is about knocking on the door. It doesn't
Yeah,
cost the candidate anything to knock on the door, and you have to decide where you're gonna put your energy. Are you gonna put your energy in ads? Are you gonna put it, in, a paper in terms of
right.
mailers, or are you gonna put it in the doors? And depending on the time that you decide to do that and the people who decide to be on your team, I always think that a knock on the door in person, however you do that, will matter more than a dollar. And
Yeah,
so we'll see how the establishment does because they do have more money behind them. They do sometimes have more name recognition, and in some cases, like Elaine Laureate, they have work behind them where they've
yeah,
actually
do.
done
They do.
stuff that
Right.
people care about. So I think that everyone is gonna be different. CD1 will be different from CD2. I think the other CD where there's a bunch of folks in it will be different.
Yeah,
I think it all matters in terms of what the candidate puts into it. And I also think, and this is where I come back to, this is a different time. And I always am a little disappointed in candidates that I think don't recognize the moment, which means that it's important to do
right,
something different than what you've always done. And what I've seen from the candidates that we've had on the show and the ones that I've seen in person together
right.
is that they have a lot of really great ideas that neither one of them seem to be, the one with all the best ideas, all the best ways to move forward. So in this moment when people are looking at, who's going to be the ones to fight for me, I'm hoping that they will embrace other candidates and bring them into the fold to
Yeah.
help make sure that we get out as many voters as we need to win in CD1, 2, and others.
Well, I know one thing I'll say to everybody in the room, what I'm picking up on is that what we know, just talking, we on Friday, we had Chris Nelson and Jessica Reynolds from the Warren County Dem Chair Committee, Rural Caucus. And this is what they said, and I would say it again, is that they talk to voters, Republicans, Democrats, but especially the Republicans. And out there, they don't like voting for Democrats at all. They said if a D is a data center by someone's name, they're not voting for that people. So it doesn't matter if you're a D and an R, but if you are for data centers or you're not explaining yourself very well, that you are not going to win election. And I noticed, and let me just tell people that are paying attention. And in here, I think people are pretty political. But in Virginia, Republicans don't, they're going to say stuff. It doesn't mean they're going to deliver. It doesn't mean they believe it. They just say whatever it takes to sort of get elected. And they are right now sending a letter to Abigail Spanberger to ask her to put this moratorium on data centers. And if anybody's paying attention, this is very much strategic, just like Anthony Fauci was dragged in front of the Congress. And let me tell you, people, why that, I'll tell you, say it again. Um, I got a really great surprise call this weekend from one of my good friends. David Pepper called me. I'm driving my
Oh,
sister to go get her hair. She came into town for the shower. She goes, I need my roots done. I'm like, oh shit, you know how hard it is to get your roots done, people, if you don't have an appointment. But that means if you tip well, you'll get into your favorite stylist. So as I'm driving her there, David calls and he's like, hey, I'm coming into town on September 2nd. We're gonna do some stuff or, and I'm so excited. And I said to him, hey, what do you think about Fauci being pulled in front of Congress? I go, is it because people, Amy Acton, we have a chance to flip Ohio. Amy Acton was under Mike DeWine, the Republican. When we went through COVID, Amy Acton was the acting COVID director in Ohio. Okay. She took all the heat for COVID. And then she actually left the position because they were death threats and everything like that. Now she is really running. She's leading in Ohio against Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever that crazy guy's name is. And they're scared. They're scared they're going to lose Ohio. So what do? They go get Fauci. They drag him in front of this guy. They're threatening to put him in jail, but it's because they want to trigger people. And so when I talked to David, he goes, "Yeah, maybe," but he goes, "I thought about that too," but he said, "You know what? I don't think so. It's not working. It is not working because people are kind of getting understand it more. They're seeing that all this crazy talk is not really coming across because they see what's really happening because it's happening to them personally. In Ohio, from their money, their pockets, the climate, they're trying to get in there to put data centers and ruin Ohio. So people are a little bit onto the con.
so here's what I'd say, and this is going to get right back to our summit, which one of our master classes,
Yeah.
never, the name of it, but the whole premise is never let a crisis go to waste.
Right.
And I think that we would probably rely on, the establishment to be the messengers here, but
Mm-mm.
we get to be the messengers. We get to talk about what happened during COVID, and we
Right.
get to talk to people who actually, doing that whole thing, probably got COVID, who were Republicans who didn't get vaccinated. And then just really think about the fact that millions of people died needlessly. They didn't have to. And after it's passed
That's
and you have
right.
your loved one gone, you got to think about that a little bit differently, especially as we have, what do you call it? The run into the bathroom with the lettuce, with the screw worms, with all of these things that are happening under Republican leadership. Why would you believe anything that they say today about COVID? So I think that Democrats have a real opportunity
Right.
to sort of not talk about facts, but just tell stories about what happened during COVID because people we think heard it and understood it, but they
Right.
didn't. And so this is our opportunity to reach out to family and friends and everybody that we know to set the record straight, not through policy talk, but just through stories about what's happening right now.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. We realize we talk to our family, we really don't talk to our family. Sometimes we have this idea we have to respect people's whatever. Don't talk politics at the table. Hey, but your food may give you diarrhea. Maybe you need to talk about it. And that has come up even over the weekend at the this kind of stuff affects everything just so simple and funny or weird or whatever planning our menu was I'm like, well, I better not put salad out. We talked about this last week, but it still is people I hear are still getting sick. This is just family members that have reported this back even in Ohio and places like that. So I think we have to break these norms. And why I say this is a friend of mine was talking about when they were talking to their parent and they realized their parent voted 3 times, for Trump and they never knew it. And I'm like, I was kind of shocked that they never actually, after all this time, actually asked or talked about it. They just assumed, and when they found out, they blew up and things aren't good. And when we talk about one part of the summit is you can change your mind and how we have to sort of navigate people that may be changing over. The weirder part is people that aren't, and maybe the information, but that people really aren't talking to one another and maybe just asking those questions. Well, why do you think that? Like, why do you feel that? What brought you to that, right?
Listen,
And
we have nothing to lose at this point.
Right, right. No, you're right. We're right. It's like jumping off a burning bridge. We better ask before we jump, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, there is literally nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose by talking to your family
Right,
and understanding, why and how they voted, and I was talking to someone this week whose family voted for, Trump 3 times, and they're not gonna vote that way this time. And they still have some issues that they're working through, but they won't be voting for Trump people, and that's for sure. So I think that this is the opportunity to talk to your family. Last week we talked a lot about Pause for 60, which is
yeah,
a project that I'm working on. Pause for 60 seconds. And it is really about literally sending a video text to your family.
right,
There will be more information, guys, coming out about it because it's really good. But the whole point is talking to your family about the thing that is important to your family. So you know that better than any
right,
of us do. And the whole point of the pause is to really have a 60-second break that you get to speak to your family member, relational organizing. We talk about this all the time, but this is a much different level, but it's from the heart. Sometimes I want to be really aggressive and I really want to just but this isn't about this. This is really
right.
stepping back for a minute and really talking to your family members with love, and with, trust and with, looking for something better and really explaining to them, talking to them about why you do what you do and why you want them to do something different, why you want them to change their mind. And we don't know what things work, but we do know that relational organizing, as we talk about
Right.
it, works when family members hear from someone that they trust. And the way that you're gonna come at them is not the normal way about, "I'm right and you're wrong. I'm a Democrat. You should be voting Democrat." It's not that at all. It really is about what is happening in the world that they can see too, and you're sharing that with them, and you're sharing the fact that you want them to be safe, you want them to be loved, and this is the opportunity for them to do that.
Yeah, or you invite them over for the salad bar, that's what I'm
If all else fails, you
well,
give them a salad.
I know what I'm wondering if other people are thinking about this is that, Gene the Piro was on, if you remember about the reflecting pool and that they dragged that biker who was the Olympian, I'm blanking on his name, I'll look it up in a second, but, that he was dragged and in front of everybody, indicted that he did it, and she's Jean Pierre is just like, we have all the evidence, and then it's the case is dropped. And then what do you think about this? I don't know what everybody else is thinking about this, but I'm like, how the hell does the Justice Department get away with dragging someone through this to, lying about what they did and then dismissing the case, and then the president's blaming it on the Justice Department, and it's so much crap, you just can't make it up. But it is really something that we were talking about this that you know, really, now they're blaming JJ Cafaro, the guy who put the coding down there, which is even funnier. What's your take on that? Did you happen to follow it?
Yeah, I did, but what I heard last was the fact that they are now blaming it on the people who actually put it in, that it was bad, it was bad workmanship. But I was looking here at Howard. Oh, you're talking to him. Good. I
Oh,
wanted
I've
you to
been
share your
talking to
side.
Howard. He did this book, and he's like, I'd be on a panel. I go, we're only 3 weeks out. We're all set. But I appreciate this information. So I'll definitely, if you can send your book along about COVID, he says in there to read my book, 500,000 American Lives, Antiviral Drugs. Very interesting. I mean, viruses are one of those things that kind of amazing deliveries of they've used them in different ways, good ways, and obviously bad ways. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways that, that Trump, like you said, Trump killed a lot of people. He just doesn't want that's why he wants to blame Fauci.
Yeah, and I what I would love to see is us fight back about that. I mean,
Mhm.
like, remember, this I don't know why the party doesn't seem to know this, but whoever gets the last word, that's the one that's believed. And so if you let all
That's
this stuff
true.
just lie there without coming back and without beating it down, you let that lie. And I don't understand it. And this is the other thing that's and I really do want to I'll grab Howard's book. You have to know that I am addicted to books. And so I will get your book and read it and hopefully you'll come on the show and actually we can talk about the book. I would love to do that. But one of the things that I was reading this weekend that really, had me going, it was an article by Jamil Bowie, and it was "How Do We Tolerate Elon Musk Racist Commentary?" And
Oh,
I don't know how many people had a chance to see that, but I wanted to just I
Could you
read the
set it up?
article.
Because I know I was
Yeah,
in this my head was in the shower. Please do.
let me set it up for you because this is
Thanks.
it's a really good article. So the article is really about the fact about how racist Elon Musk is,
Mhm.
and that is out in public, that is not hidden. And he really talks about a lot of the things that happen on Twitter. That you might see a comment that says something like, "Yes, I agree." And you don't really know what he's agreeing with. But then when you go back and read the article or go back
Mhm.
and just read the clip of what's before it, you'll find that it is some anti-Semitic or some
Oh, yeah.
horribly racist comment. And so he's asking, why do we let Elon Musk get away with all of this racist commentary? And if you just think about this as an example, Republicans right now are demonizing democratic socialists. And so they're
Right.
making it this really big thing, calling them communists and just all kinds of things, right? And every single Democrat is having to defend themselves against democratic socialists. The question that you would ask yourself is, why don't Republicans have to defend themselves against racist Elon Musk? Like we talk about,
Right.
all these, but think about what Barack Obama had to defend himself against. Anything anybody said, he had to defend himself against it. Black people overall have to defend themselves against everything. Anything one person does, we're all guilty. That's the way that it runs. But here we have Elon Musk, who
Yeah.
says all of this terrible racist stuff, and not a single Republican has to answer to why they take millions of dollars from him. Trump doesn't have to answer.
No.
Candidates don't have to answer. No one has to answer. No one puts it on
Right.
blast about accepting money and funding and stage time with a devout racist. Why how come that happens?
Well, the government should ask why they gave him millions of dollars and not make him pay. I mean, look, we it's sort of like Saddam Hussein. We create these people, these monsters. I think before we do some of this, there's not a lot of thought, it feels like to me, when we are sometimes funding certain programs and people without accountability or actually outcome. But he would never been able to do what he does. I mean, and then have power over a satellite. Maybe you give an avowed racist, a crazy guy. Um, a chance to shut down the planet. He has Starlink up there. I mean, he was able to alter the Ukraine war. So I think there's a lot of questions. Yes, a lot of we wonder Trump isn't a to me is a racist. He's up there. I mean, what the heck? There's so many questions about how we, I guess, the government. It must be just power and money, whatever. I mean, there's another article about if Elon, if people read it, that he is really mad that the Minnesota passed a law to the first in the nation to ban nudification technology, and Elon's mad about it. Why? He's a weirdo. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what are you talking about? You know?
This is what I think, and I know we're
Yeah.
gonna be short on time in just a minute.
No.
I just
Oh, in
think that
5 minutes.
these are a couple of things that we should take up in
Yep,
terms of how
please.
we talk about things. I do think that you know, we have to align Republicans with who they are.
Yep.
If you are associating with these people, if you are doing these things, we have to tie them to it. And it's
I
look,
agree with
people
you, but
don't like to be called
could I
racist,
just say
right?
something? You're gonna be I'm just gonna push right now, not push back because there's not pushing back. But I am just outraged because if being a racist was a bad thing, we wouldn't have Trump. So I think we have to ask a different question. And if we ask a different question, it has to be like a different outcome. Like being tied to racism obviously isn't a problem. Being a pervert or a creep isn't a problem. There's something else that's sick that I think in the sense of what we have to tie people to is maybe something even bigger than that, and I don't know what the word that makes people just turn away because obviously racism is so baked in, people aren't impacted. But what is? And you would think raping little kids, this whole Epstein files, which I think did trigger a lot of people. But what is it that could be even? Um, I don't know. I'm spitballing. Like, it's bugging me.
It's never
'Cause
gonna be one thing. It's never gonna be
I
one
know that,
thing.
but I'm saying to you, we all know we try to time to all that. I am just sort of pushing everybody in this audience that what does it take then? Because we know we tried this over and over. People should know this. We saw January 6th. There's something more to this than just thinking you could bring down this party, tying them to these bad things because they are these things. It has to be voters starting to look at people and say, I want the vote for these people that are, going to do these things that really matter, and they're really, I see that they've done them, or something more on the positive side. Now I'm just bringing this up to you. Now I'll stop it. But tell me what you think. I'm just kind of baffled by
I
why we're here.
it is never race is the underlying
I know it
mechanism.
is, right.
So it's the underlying mechanism, but people don't like to be aligned with racists out front. And so I don't ever think it's one thing, but I do
Right,
think in order to call certain voters to arms,
right,
especially black voters, the people who this actually affects their lives every single day,
right,
for them to be enraged, for them to be upset, for them to understand that this is our lives that are at risk. These are the calls to action
right,
that say, this is why you have to get out and vote. We know we have to build a coalition. The
right,
whole
right.
idea is that we want to have a multiracial coalition in this country that drives us to success. It won't happen overnight, and it will never, ever be one issue. Like, it's not the Epstein files, but the Epstein files do pull in a certain coalition of people. It's never going to be just racism, but racism does pull in a certain
We're
coalition
saying,
of
I'm
people.
hearing you. Go with it. Go. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Right,
it's all the things. It's never gonna be one thing, and it will be racists who will vote against Republicans, not because they like black people or because they like me, but
right.
because they want the quality of their life to be something different.
Or they start to see that, that they maybe think that this, hey, this is all impacting me too. Like, it's when it sort of stretches there a little bit longer. But like this guy at the reflecting pool, he goes down there just to look at the water. Before you know it, he's arrested, and people start to look around. We thought Alex Preddy was shot in the face. When we think about Renee Good, we thought, oh my God, could it be enough? Even back in the day when that young kid was in that Black Lives Matter and shot, what was his with killed a few people. And you would think, when isn't it enough?
Rittenhouse, Carl,
But
Rittenhouse,
Carl, but
Kyle
Rittenhouse,
Rittenhouse.
like, when is it enough? And so what I'm trying to just say, I think too, when I see where people start to turn against Republicans is when they see the truly, really corruption, the self kind of, when they really are seeing these people are taking care of themselves a lot. I think people are really waking up to what happened to them even during COVID, what's happening to their bank accounts, they're starting to look around. And I think it's a little bit more looking at Republicans, and that's why they're trying all these tricks right now to just make sure they confuse people. They always go back to like we said this before, it just happened the other day. They bring up Biden, they bring up Fauci because they're losing people. Was it the poll that just came out that Trump is at his lowest position, ever? That, like, you're like off the
It,
charts low, right?
yeah,
And
it's
yeah,
Yeah, I was just gonna say again that it's all the things. And
yes,
the
I
all
agree.
the things is that it will never be one thing. And so that's why talking to people to understand what is important to them. For us, the space that we sit in, we see all of these things happening, all the chaos.
Yeah,
But for folks who are just living every day, they're not seeing any of this. And so that's not what's gonna, it took me forever to recognize that I wasn't gonna get anybody's attention unless I talk about gas and groceries and whatever. That because that's the thing that affects them because they're not looking at all this other stuff. Some of it's too complex. They're exhausted, they're
yeah,
tired. So it's the thing that affects you personally. And then you can talk about at the top of the house, corruption is what causes all of it. So all the pain that you're having, whether it's
that's right.
gas or groceries or high prices, is caused by the corruption and deception. And so that's what brings it all together. But I wanted to say Rachel Bittercoffer, who's also going to be at the
Women's
summit,
right.
at the Women's Summit, talked about something. She said 30% of the people who are MAGA don't think that they're doing enough on immigration. They don't think that it's harsh enough, that it's cruel
Really?
enough. Yeah.
Mm.
And so I sent a note back, and I don't get on Twitter very often, but it popped up and I sent it back and said, I just want to remind you that half of the people thought that it was okay in this country. Half of the people in this country thought that it was okay for people to be enslaved.
Right.
And think about what happened in Germany. They thought that it was okay for millions of people to be slaughtered and killed. So we have evil. We have evil. People are evil. And if we just got 30%, then yay who, yay us. And so the idea for us is to make that 30% go back in the shadows where they came from. And we do that by voting. And we do that by getting elected officials to highlight and talk about the things that need to be talked about, and that it's gonna take time for us to get back to where we need to be, but then we gotta go far beyond that and make some
Yeah,
real
we can't
changes
go
in this
back to
country.
status quo. And I'll say a few things. I think just as time goes on, and this is why they're trying to distract people, that, when we think about Trump and this war, doesn't want to talk about it. I'll just say when we do talk about to different people, he canceled this massive attack on Iran. And despite he says this thing one day, the next, people are paying attention to this, believe it or not, because especially when the media does cover it, he's changing his mind on something super important. And it's kind of crazy. Then you have Kennedy, Robert Kennedy Jr. over there trying to talk about the vaccines and bring old stuff. In the meantime, Trump covers a subsidy program that helped keep costs down for Medicare. We know those cuts are coming in 27. And so, the decline of what we're really going after is when people's like airplanes aren't on time and their food is making them sick. And there's one party in power, and we got to keep reminding people that they're the party in power. And I tell people they've done nothing for you. I'll write, I'll post, I'll talk. What have they really done for you? And what I'll do say to end this on, and I think it's really important because it bothers me, is that when we talk about how we have to message in front of it, is the people that have the loudest bullhorns have to keep. I mean, they just have to talk louder and say things a lot more, eh, you know, pushing back on some of the regular media. I find our biggest problem right now is the major media. What do you call them? The legacy media, whatever's left of the media. All they're doing is letting people on, or they themselves, or want to talk about communism. The Democrats and the DAs, the Democratic Socialist Party. I just heard today, it's like their favorite horse race is talking about something that doesn't exist. And it's another thing to confuse voters. So I think we need to get ahead of that. I don't think we should ignore it and think it's silly and ridiculous because people are so misinformed about what even it means. And I know you talked to Alpha Woolen about that. But let's end on some of those concrete things we could do, because I look at what the media is doing and they are really the problem. And I hate to say that, but people have lost their minds in some of this discussion because Republicans are running on one thing right now, that we're communists. And you're like, they're doing it and it's goofy, but hell, they've done goofy stuff before. So what are your thoughts when you see this?
So my thoughts are, I have to give it some thought because I think that that's what we have to do
Yeah, I want
is
to think about
this
it
is
too.
if you think that this is a crisis moment, then this is our opportunity to think about how we do that. And part of it really is talking to our elected officials. I mean, there are
Yeah,
people that we know who will take your phone call. And we have to talk to them and say, this is what we are seeing and feeling. The other thing is figuring out, how do we talk to folks on the news? How do we figure out how to get to them? They're kind of hard to get to, but we can figure it out. So I think that it's up to us if we are talking about the fact that we are having
right,
these master classes in order for us to think differently about how to get to things, how to do things, that this is our opportunity is to figure this one out. And I also will say again, part of it is figuring out how we get every Tom, Dick, and Harry to talk to the people in their families about the
right,
things that are important and where they can go to get good, accurate information about what is happening in this country and
right.
what they can do about it.
Yeah, I know it's big stuff. I'll just say it was great to be able to sort of end the Sunday evening with you. But that is a big discussion on people on here, and we'll follow up with Howard. He has a lot of stuff he's saying, um, that's about the COVID and science. And really, when I think about like how important, even when you go back to COVID and maybe there are mistakes were made, a lot of us have personal stories. Seeing how my husband who worked in the ER had to go off to work and when they didn't have the vaccine, and he was worried about dying. People forget that. We just forget it. And we think, oh my God, we could have done it better. We would have sent everybody off to school and everybody died. We did it the wrong way. It was kind of a lose-lose because you didn't know, but you follow science, just like trying to, track down where this parasite is coming from, or this disease that's causing the stomach problems. Science, it matters. And so, either we're going to live in the real world and fight for what reality is, And the idea that truth is important, we have to fight for truth. I think overall, that is really important. And we've lost that. We've really lost the fight for the truth and reality in some ways. So we have to keep
Yeah, I mean,
going at it.
I was gonna say it really is the day that Kellyanne Conway, and I will
Oh,
give
geez,
her that
Louise, you're
credit,
bringing
came
it
out
up.
with alternative facts was the day it turned. But I also wanna
Yeah.
say to Howard, who says he's known Dr. Fauci for a really
Oh,
long time, I watched some of the some of him when they were, pressing him on all the questions, and everything he said was, I'm, he the Fifth Amendment, whatever that thing is that
yeah.
you use, but I would have loved for Dr. Fauci to have been able to respond to some of those things. And I hope that someone will talk to his attorney and let him, say the things that he can say. Because if you get to say nothing else, you get to say how horrible RFK is, and you get to say how horrible the things that he's doing, and you get to say how horrible it is that we have the screw worm and that we have this,
Yeah.
horrible disease on our lettuce and all these other things that he's done to make life horrible, and he's not doing anything good. So I'm sure that someone really smart and capable can figure out, if not Dr. Fauci, how someone can come out and defend the work that he did and the work that his team did to keep so many people alive after
Yeah.
Trump caused so many people to die.
Yeah, when you look at he's talking about the AIDS and how much Dr. Fauci does, and and the idea of just studying all the science and viruses and just how important it is. And now that they're breaking down how people can get this help, that somebody was telling me that just like yeah, you're not going to be able to get certain kind of medical treatment because of this administration, and so there's a lot to be said that Dr. Fauci may not be the right spokesman at this time, being in his 80s and being really, they want to put him in the gulag. And you got to remember that they want to talk about something else. So I think we talk about what matters. And we talk about science in a different way. We have to talk about what matters, right? Because as soon as we talk about COVID, it triggers them. So we have to talk about what's happening now in my mind. Go back to the diarrhea, vote for a Republican, go back to your Medicare, your Medicaid, go back to the cost of medicine, go back to the Haitians putting how they're treating people, go back to all of this stuff and remind people they've done nothing for them. They're corrupt, they're enriching themselves, and we got to get this country back and protect our rights and our freedoms. And, right now, the MAGA parties, needs its own inoculation. I'll say that to Diane, I think she's right. The centrist Dems are happy that media is trashing the Dem socialists. You got that right. I think you're onto something there. There is that. I wish they'd stop it, is what I would wish, and just talk about what's
I
good,
wish they would. Yeah, I
right?
wish they would stop it too. We
They
shouldn't.
just want to divide us,
This
but they're doing it to themselves. So I hate to
Yeah,
say it, they're doing
yeah.
it to themselves. So they're
Yeah.
sillies. Okay. So what else? So tell me what the last 2 minutes here. Just I'll give you time. What's on your mind about this week? Something important to you that you want to let people know, and then we'll go off to our Sunday night.
Yeah, I just think for me right now, the rest of the evening, I'm just gonna pause for 60 seconds myself because I just think I need some good time to just think and get a clear head about how I wanna move forward myself. And I really am, I really am really dedicated to that project because I think that we have to try all kinds of things. And I think that there's
Yeah.
never going to be one solution. There's going to be many solutions because people are so different. But they do forget that we do have something in common. And that is most of us are decent people who care about other people. And my final words will be people lose their conscience in a crowd. And by talking to our family and to people individually, you get to see the real person and hope that that will come through when it's time to vote.
Yeah, me too. That's good. It's a good way to end it. I agree. And my job is just to remind people Friday, we have a great show. It's going to be, can't believe it's August 7th. We're only like on 3 weeks of a countdown to the summit. And I'm very excited about some of the speakers. And I know if you're in Virginia, you need to sign up for the summit. Come. If you're a candidate or you know somebody running for office, we have Slay Strategies, Kate Barr. If you know her, she's a Can't Win Victory Fund, and she's the owner of Slay Strategies. We have their team coming to do some great training. We are just excited to have Robert Hubble going to be there, Michelle Hornish, Rachel Bidikofer doing the master classes with Finale. And we have a great panel, Denver Riggleman, Michael Fanone. We have Leah Greenberg coming, Alyssa Fetter from organizing Rising Organizers coming. We have Run for Something, Melanie Rose showing up. We have local candidates that will be on the stage talking about why to stop authoritarianism, in my mind, is to run for office and be on the local level. So, and the amount of powerful people in the room, we're going to have this agenda out this week and we'll share it with y'all. I just wanted to get people jazzed up to join us for the Women's Summit. We work really hard for like at least 6 months dedicating ourselves to put something together. It's so important to come together. So tonight, we're so glad you came together with us, and we'll see you. We'll be touching base with our followers on and Substack, and also we'll be back Friday. Friday for the Friday Power Lunch, right? If we
That's
can.
right.
Yeah, we can. And it's going to be good. We have some great guests and we'll talk about them later. All right, for now.
All
Have
right.
a
Good
good
night,
week,
everybody.
everybody. Bye. Bye bye.
Bye.